Award-winning investigative journalist with the Australian newspaper Hedley Thomas began the Teacher's Pet podcast in May 2018. His reporting and investigations continued right up to and throughout the trial, and yesterday's conviction wouldn't have been possible without Hedley's ironclad determination to get to the bottom of this case. Hedley joins me now from Sydney. Hedley, mate, you have absolutely nailed it. You've been so diligent, so respectful, so detailed in pursuing this. You must be just so satisfied to see justice served.
Thank you very much, Chris. And look, it is an incredible relief. I've got to know Lynn's family very well. Lynn's very good friends on the Northern Beaches have become friends of mine. Now, women in their 70s, as Lynn would have been if she'd been allowed to live. And the bonds and the trust and the friendships that have developed as a result of the last 4.5 years are something else. That's why yesterday was so special. There were hugs, there were tears, there was elation in some quarters, but in the courtroom where I sat with Greg and Marilyn, and Greg being Lynn Dawson's brother, Marilyn is Greg's wife, I think we saw something that just felt deeply sad, because after so many years of denial, of lying, of obfuscation and shifting blame to Lynn Dawson, calling her the runaway wife, the mother who would abandon her children. Finally, the truth had come out, and Justice Ian Harrison said, "I find you guilty." He was cuffed and taken away. And it wasn't that happy moment that many people might have expected. It was powerful, but it was in many ways sorrowful.
Yeah, and I just want to show our viewers a little bit of your gathering last night, because this encapsulates it. It's not a moment for celebration, but it's certainly a moment to treasure. Here's Hedley with so many of those family members and police officers last night.
And when you came on board, it gave us more hope, because to us, the police investigation had stagnated. It didn't seem to be progressing at all. When you came on board, people were more willing to speak to you than they were the police. And had you not given us the stage to bring Lynn's story forward, we have absolutely no doubt in the world that we would not be sitting here tonight celebrating.
True.
Celebrating, wrong word.
Not celebrating.
But being together and sharing our experience. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have that closure, Hedley, and to share it with the family. I know your wife Ruth came down from Brisbane as well. That's how enmeshed you all are over this. I want to come to some of the ramifications with Chris Dawson in a moment. But first up, there's a point that astonished me today, and I found really interesting. I want to hear your thoughts on it. And that is, apart from getting justice in this case, throughout the last couple of years, through the podcast, you've received contact from a lot of women who were in abusive relationships, and hearing the story of Lynn Dawson helped them to make the crucial decision to leave dangerous or abusive relationships. So there's a chance that the publicity around this over the past 4 years has not only just delivered justice, but possibly saved other lives.
Chris, that has been one of the most satisfying parts of the last 4.5 years for me, that young women, older women, women who have friends in dangerous relationships have been better able to identify some very dangerous signs. And these are signs around the coercive control, the narcissism, the domination, the controlling, the isolation of a woman in a relationship that is unhealthy. And it's empowered women to actually leave those relationships, or to tell other women, you need to really think about what's going on here. It looks dangerous. This could escalate. And I think that that's one of the reasons why so many people have identified with Lynn Dawson's story. They know people who have had or have partners who can be potentially very dangerous. It doesn't take a great stretch to go from being a narcissistic and very dominating husband to then cracking with escalation and violence. And in violent relationships, which is what Lynn Dawson's friends said she was in, that was a big factor that caused her friends to be determined to get justice for her. And I think that, you know, it is a lesson that many other people are seeing and heeding now.
Now, Chris Dawson, of course, knows what happened. He knows where the body has been disposed of. There's every likelihood he'll appeal and apply for bail. Do you think there's any chance he'll get bail pending an appeal? And what pressure can be put on him to reveal what he knows, especially about the location of Lynn Dawson's remains?
Look, bail seems an almost impossible scenario, Chris. You know, he's just been convicted of murder, a murder that he has covered up for 40 years. Chris has lived a full life these past 4 decades. He may live 10, 15 more years, who knows, he's 74, but it's difficult to understand how he could be successful in a bail application. In terms of Lynn's remains, it would bring enormous comfort to her family if he would lead police to her resting place so that she may be properly buried. But I don't think that he will do that. I'm sure because of the fixed view that his family has, that his twin brother Paul has, and Marilyn, that Chris Dawson has been unfairly convicted, that he's been stitched up. The lie will be maintained. Unfortunately, I don't believe that he will actually ever reveal where Lynn is, unless potentially there is something transactional in it for him. If, for example, he's sentenced and there's a parole provision whereby he doesn't get out at the end of his sentence unless he reveals the resting place currently of Lynn Dawson, he might go for something like that if he thinks he can live long enough to see out his sentence. That would be, I suspect, the only reason he would do that.
Yeah, and that's a change. That's a change many are advocating for. Yourself and Peter Dutton, the opposition leader, has backed that as well today. So we'll continue on that campaign. Hedley, thanks so much for joining us again. Congratulations to you again and all those who have worked with you at the Australian, and also all those people who gave you information and evidence and supported your investigations, because the outcome has been fantastic.
Chris, thank you for your backing too, mate. You supported me through this back in 2018.
Enough, mate. Enough, mate. Thanks very much, Hedley. It's all yours. Hedley Thomas there. It's absolute credit to journalism, what he's delivered there, with the help from a lot of people, as you heard there, especially people who trusted him with the evidence. And to get justice like this is a fantastic outcome, not just for Hedley Thomas, but for journalism in this country.